and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about my Gothtober TBR. It's Angels versus Demons this year, so we have 3 separate boards. I Am Lady Death, which is a nice mixture of the 2 boards, totally neutral, and yes, even though I've told everyone that they can double up and they can pick whichever prompts they want to commit to and which ones they don't, I'm doing all of them individually, and there's additional books on this TBR that don't really need to be there, but I thought it'd be a fun thing to do anyway. So let's start with my book club books. I'm part of several different book clubs. We've got the Hullabaloo book club, which I don't know what the book is going to be because we haven't done the task yet, and we also haven't had the live show for the last 2 books. So fingers crossed with that one. We have the Lamentable Library, of which I still haven't read The Flowers in the Attic, but this is a nice gothic read that I will probably carry over and just pray that because Kelly was getting married last month, congratulations Kelly, that she didn't read it either. Fingers crossed for me. We also have Fire Study, of which again I was lucky enough that Ali decided to move house and therefore couldn't read last month, so I've got an extra month to catch up on this one as well. Love that for me. And the one read along that I am on time with, which is the Skullduggery one, we will be reading The Dying Light, which is the grand finale of the first series before the second series starts. And the last book had me stressed, so I'm not as excited about this one as I could be. Just saying. I'm tense. I'm very tense. And then for Bevies and Book Club, I'll be reading the Final Girl support group. Grady Hendrix is a bit hit and miss with me. I've enjoyed some of their writing. I've hated other books of theirs. This is going to be the book where I kind of decide where I stand on this author, and I thought that would be a great pick for a book club. The prompt, I think, is horror. It's nice and vague, so I figure this counts. This is also the first book that I will be ticking off on the demon board, which is the prompt Murder. Now, if you don't know, the premise of this is that these are all girls that have survived. They are the final girls in their horror film, horror life traumatic experiences, and then they're all in a support group where they can talk about these traumatic experiences with people who understand what they went through. In this book, they then start getting picked off one by one and the whole thing starts again. So I'm really, really intrigued by this. I really love the final girl trope. I know it's like tropey and stereotypical, but I really enjoy it in horror films, so I'm hoping I will really like it in book form as well. So that's the first one on the demon board. Next on the demon board is Mythology, and I will be reading Certain Dark Things. This is a book set in 80s Mexico City. It's a vampire novel all about Mayan and Mexican mythology around vampires. I've read the first 3 chapters already for a previous video and really, really enjoyed it, so I'm really, really excited for this one as well. Next is Dark Romance. I will be reading The Beautiful Ones, again by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is a book about a bunch of socialites who are just having a good time, and then a dark and mysterious stranger turns up and horrible things start to happen. I will just let you know, heads up, those are not the only 2 Sylvia Moreno Garcia books that will be on this TBR. Next is a quote from a classic, so I will be reading Pride and Premeditation. Now this was in a previous TBR, but when I started putting my list together for this month, and be proud of me that I didn't do it super early like I could have, because I learnt my mistake last year of not doing that, and then wanting to read those books all year right up until when I had to read them and then not wanting to read them, I decided that actually it would be better on this TBR than on the previous TBR. So Pride and Premeditation. It's Pride and Prejudice but with murder, and I'm excited because that's like my 2 favourite things mixed together. Next is Found Family, and whilst this isn't technically a gothic, it is a sci-fi, which I'm not usually a fan of. Everyone keeps telling me that A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is Found Family and it's one of their favourite books of 2021, so I feel like I need to read this soon. Otherwise I'm going to start losing friends. I don't necessarily know what it's about other than it's a group of misfits who are on a spaceship, learning to get along, dealing with depression, social anxiety, things like that, but out in space. So I'm intrigued, but it's won the Hugo Award, so it must be good. Must be. It's an award winner. I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. One of the few palette cleansers on this TBR that's not strictly gothic or horror, because that's what I'm in the mood for. Tis spooky season. And the final prompt for the demon board is Omens. Now when I originally picked The Bewitching of Evelyn Jones, didn't realise it was the sequel to The Haunting of Evelyn Jones. So I'll be reading this one because it's got crows on the front, but I'll be reading this one first so that this one makes sense. It's how series work, and besides they're teeny tiny little middle grades, so I figure I could probably get them done quite quickly and double spook. Also, middle grade has a tendency to be spookier for me than adult novels, so doubly intrigued and nervous. but perfect for spooky season, so we love that. That is the vibe for spooky season. So next is the Angel Board. First up on the list is Monochrome. You may remember back in August, Lamentable Library read The Library of the Unwritten, which is about a librarian, an angel and a demon walking into Valhalla. This is the sequel to that. Obviously it's got a black and white cover with red font, so it's not technically monochrome because it has 3 colours, but I'm going to argue that it is monochrome because it's mainly white with a little splash of black across it. So, besides, it's my readathon. I don't have to justify myself to you if I don't want to, so I'm reading this. It's the sequel. I want to read the rest of this book. I want to get back in touch with those characters. They were a fun time. It's not technically gothic, but it has gothic tropes and it counts for this prompt. That's for anyone who was going to at me. Now you don't need to. I've already atted myself. Next is Sentient House. Now I don't know many books with a sentient house and I'm not entirely sure if this is a sentient house. However, really excited to read Mexican Gothic. It was really popular for last year's Gothtober. It's another Sylvia Moreno Garcia, so we love that for me. This is about a young socialite again who, I think her cousin or her sister has married someone who lives in the middle of nowhere and creepy stuff is happening in the house, so she goes to investigate. I read the first chapter a couple of months ago and then was like, what am I doing? Why am I not saving this for Gothtober? It's amazing. Really enjoyed what I read of it. That first like opening chapter, that opening description was just really beautifully written, so I'm really excited for this one as well. And then yes, of course I did put Velvet Was the Night, because apparently 3 Sylvia Moreno Garcia books and 1 TBR wasn't enough. I wanted another one. This one is set in the 70s and is about protests and missing women and Russian spies, so I will be reading this one for the consequences prompt. I'm just really intrigued. My one issue with these books though, and I know it's petty, but like, there was a vibe going, right? She has her own like little font on her name and like it's a stark white font for the cover and it's just there's a thing going, and then they were like, haha, fooled you, we're gonna put the name at the top for a change and then it's going to be calligraphy. Like, there was a trend and you ruined it. But they look really pretty, so I'm going to be reading all of those. I think the only book of Sylvia Moreno Garcia that I own that is not on this TBR is Gods of Jade and Shadow, and that's just because I couldn't squeeze it in. I wanted to. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to, but then I thought, what if I hate her writing? What if I hate these books? And I've already committed to 4. 5 would just be too many. Next is large friendship groups. I will be reading Even If We Break because the opening line of the synopsis is 5 friends go into the cabin. Now I appreciate that's not necessarily a large friendship group, but it's a friendship group, so I'm counting it. It also has disability rep because the author is autistic, so it counts as neurodivergence. I know almost nothing about that book, so that's why I'm just rushing through that one. Next is biblical reference. I will be reading The Testaments. This is the second in Margaret Atwood's series, The Handmaid's Tale. I loved The Handmaid's Tale. I only got 18 pages into this one before I had to put it down, but it's not because the book was not good. Margaret Atwood's writing is amazing. It was more that I studied The Handmaid's Tale at school and I thought, oh, what a cool like video idea. Maybe I could study this one and see if any of my points from my previous essays were relevant in this, and I got 18 pages in and went, that's not only bad content but boring as fuck to do because I'm not an academic anymore. So why am I choosing to write an essay about something for people who don't care? It would just be for me, so I put it down again. So now I'm going to pick it back up and I'm not going to do the essay because that would be boring unless you want to see the essay. I don't think you want to see the essay. I'm just going to read it for funsies and as a palate cleanser for all the horror, but still that vibe. And horrible things happen. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, the stack of hardbacks is getting chunky. So this is the one and only time I'm going to lift it because it's going to get too heavy. I'm not done yet. I'm not done. Next is Ruby in the Smoke, which I'll be reading for enlightenment. This is set in the late Victorian era, which had science and medicine and religious imagery and stuff like that all kind of crammed into it as well. Philip Pullman is notorious, especially with his Dark Material series, of cramming in that science versus religion argument. I appreciate that he's been really problematic recently and I am trying to read all the books that I own by him so that I can decide if I want to keep them or not, but I don't know if I will keep him. If that makes any sense. But yeah, so it fits for the enlightenment prompt because it's literally in the era of enlightenment. And then that brings us to the death board. There are only 2 individual prompts for death board. The first is Crossroads, which I'll be reading Demon Road by Derek Landy on Scribd. It's currently available as an audiobook. This is about a young girl who is a crossroads demon. I don't know any more than that. I just know that I really enjoy his style of writing and I'm sure I'm sure it will just be another series that can break my heart into tiny wee pieces, because why not? Derek Landy, why not? And then the other prompt is Sprayed Edges, so I'll be reading The Ravens, because very, very pink, Sprayed Edges. This is a second-hand copy, which is why it's a little bit scuffed. But I don't know very much about it, I just know that people have really enjoyed it. It's a publisher that I trust, and it's a really interesting concept. Dark academia vibes. So we love that. Every board has the same 3 prompts, which is a BIPOC or BAM read, LGBTQ rep, and disability rep. So for those, now originally for BIPOC, I was going to read The Taking of Jake Livingston, which is about a young boy who can see the dead and then is confronted by a ghost of a boy who shot up a school. And I'm really, really intrigued by that, except I can't find my copy anywhere. So I will hopefully find it and read that. I mean, I found it to take a photo of it the other day. I don't know where I've put it. I don't know where it is. So just as a backup, I've got Ace of Spades, which is another dark academia about a bunch of black kids at a prep school, and they kind of like get into poker and stuff like that. I don't know much more than that. I just know that it's Own Voices, and I've heard really, really good things. So I'm really intrigued by that one. For the LGBTQ prompt, I will be reading Gideon the Ninth, which is technically gothic sci-fi. Again, as I said with The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, I'm not a massive fan of sci-fi, so that has me really nervous about this. But this was gifted to me, so I really want to get to it soon. It literally has gothic on the front page, and obviously lots of sapphic romance in this, which is intriguing. I'm intrigued. So there's a lot of fan art. I've seen more fan art than I have anything that's like spoilery of the actual narrative, unless that is the narrative. Don't let me know in the comments down below. Let that be a fun little surprise for me. And then finally, my final read is going to be Ghosted, which is for my disability prompt. This is about a young woman who is looking after her father who has Alzheimer's, which is the disability included. Her husband goes missing, and for 3 days she doesn't report him missing, and that is hella sus. So she then becomes the #1 suspect, and she has to prove that she did love her husband even though their relationship was incredibly toxic. It just looks really intriguing. I didn't see anyone talk about this for ages, and then all of a sudden it seems to be everywhere, so I'm hoping I might even be able to find someone to buddy read this with me, because I think it's going to be a really intriguing read. And then, like I said at the start, because apparently that wasn't enough and committing to multiple books for each prompt wasn't enough, I then decided that I would vlog for Gothtober, not with any of the books that are currently on this TBR bar one, but I'm going to read a whole bunch of the final girl trope books. So we have Good Girls Die First, we have The Last One to Die, and we have The Last Girl. I know there is another one by Riley Sager as well that has come out recently, but my copy of that has not yet arrived, so if it does I will add it to the list, but if not, it will be that and the Final Girl support group. I will be vlogging that over the next few weeks, hopefully. So yeah, total masochist, putting a individual book for every single prompt and taking on all of the boards, even though I technically only needed to take on the Death board as Lady Death. But I wanted to give points to both teams just from me being involved. And obviously you get bonus points if your mythology book is not Greek mythology, so I get bonus points for that as well, so I'm very excited. Let me know in the comments down below which team you are in by using your hashtag either Heavenly Halos for the Angel team or Hellhounds for the Demon team, and let me know which book you are most excited to read. Other than that, have a nice day, and I will see you at midnight on October 1st.